Is this turned on? Hi, and welcome to Rick Fry in Real Time. We are brought to you by Oneness Ministries and the Stream Grace Network. You're probably wondering where I am. I'm so excited that this is my first shoot in the out of doors, which is what I've been wanting to do for some time. I'm in the Wichita Wildlife Refuge doing an interview with a wildlife photographer by the name of Randy Jones. I've known Randy for about 23 years. We went to church together, we camped together, and we are involved in the arts. He is a very, very fine wildlife photographer, and I'm excited that you get to meet him and to hear his story. Hi, and welcome to Rick Fry in Real Time. We are brought to you by Oneness Ministries and the Stream Grace Network. I have been looking forward to this for quite some time. Having an interview with my friend Randy Jones, whom I've known for probably 23 years.
Yeah, that sounds
Probably
about right.
23 years. And when I first met Randy, he probably doesn't remember this, but the first time I saw Randy, it was at Sooner Fashion Mall, I think, and you were selling bonsai trees.
Yep.
The little bitty cedar trees that were just gorgeous.
Yep.
And for some reason you got out of that business.
Yeah. Downturn in the economy really hurt.
Really?
back
Were they
then.
expensive?
They can be,
Yeah.
depend on how much time and effort you put into them. Basically, bonsai is you charge by the hour. And
Really?
over the years, that adds up. That's
Wow.
why you'll see trees that are $20,000, $30,000.
Whoa, wow.
You know, because they've been maintained for a generation or two.
Wow.
So it adds up.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And then here's the parallel between Randy and me, is that neither one of us found a career till we were probably in our 40s.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were both involved in the arts. I was a painter, and I say that every time I do one of these interviews. But Randy became a wildlife photographer. And the first time I saw his work, I was director of the Performing Arts Studio in Norman. And you brought some images in and wanted to do a show. And I was blown away. I go, how did you learn to do this so quickly? What got you interested in photography?
Well, you helped. I kind of considered you a mentor for a while. My brother-in-law does color management, and he's been involved in that industry for years. And what that is someone that's trained in the field of color, and they go to different print shops, different studios, and they set up and color manage their system where everything works together and prints the same color over and over and over.
That consistency is really
Right.
important. Yes.
Yeah. And he encouraged me to get away from the part-time goofing off playing with a camera and get serious about it.
You know, you say part-time goofing off. You know how many times in my career as an artist I was told, why don't you just get a real job and do art part-time? Well, you can't do it part-time. You can't do photography, especially wildlife photography. You can't do it part-time.
No, that has to be a passion. It has to be something that you're fully involved in. It has to be something that you're willing to spend hours and hours and hours, and sometimes waiting, setting.
I was going to mention that those hours and hours and hours is in one spot,
Yeah.
waiting for something.
Yeah.
And you've done it here.
Yes. I've photographed a lot of and just great things here.
Yeah.
I love this place.
I would classify it as great. You do really, really good work.
Thank you.
And I hope we can have some of your images on this video so people can see what you do.
Cool.
Also, Randy and I went to church together, and we became friends. We did campouts, mostly father-daughter, I think.
Yep.
And the reason that I want to do, that I can justify doing Randy as an artist, is because he's also a believer. That's really important to our mission at Oneness Ministries. Is to our mission, our vision is to present Christ as life. So I try to tie all my interviews into with somebody who lives that life. Tell us, how you came to Christ and what that means to you.
You know, it's a complicated story. My family did not go to church.
Yeah, mine either.
Never really was involved in church very much. My uncle was a Baptist preacher. And when I was about 6 years old, he gave me a small New Testament Bible.
Really?
And when we had an opportunity, he would spend time with me. You know, he shared his testimony, and he had scripture that he would quote to me, and then he would ask me to look it up in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a fun process. And there was a time where one evening we got down on our knees next to my bed, and I prayed that Christ would forgive me for my sins.
How old were you when you did that?
I think about 6 or 7.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was just it was a great time.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of faded away because I did not have any family close that could relate to Christ. And so it kind of went by the wayside, and I fell back in old ways, and Christ didn't mean anything to me until I met my wife. And she started bringing me to Wildwood.
Wow. What year was that?
Oh, gosh. Can I say,
It was this century, wasn't it?
Well, it was, 30 years ago?
30 years ago.
It's been a while.
Gosh.
But I don't know if you remember, but back then I was pretty rough.
You're still pretty rough.
Well, it's been moderated somewhat. I mean, I'm still rough on the edges, and I still have anger issues on occasion.
That's the one thing that I always admired about you, Randy, is that you're not fake. You don't try to pull religious stuff on people. I was going to say crap, but you can't say that on this.
No, you can't. Crap.
Can't say that. But you've always been honest, and I've always appreciated that about you. If you don't have many filters. If you're upset about something, we all know about it, and I don't have a problem with that either.
Yeah, I can be blunt. I've been working on it, and in God's grace, I'll get better.
Yeah. Well, we're both in the 80-year plan. We still got a lot of time left to get those rough edges worn down.
But that my wife has played a big role in showing me the way, and encouraging me not only by her words but by her actions.
You bring up a really good point. There is no way that we can make it in this business, the art business, and doing the video work is an art form, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And there's no way we can do that without the support of our wives.
Oh yeah, there's been 3 or 4 times over the past 12 years, 13 years, that I've told her, this is not working. It's not what I envisioned. I have a passion for it, and I love doing the photography, but I'm not making the money I want to make. And she would say, no, you can't quit. Yeah. You just can't quit. You've got to go for it. You've got to be all in.
And we all get to that place where we think, why am I doing this? It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Yeah.
But it eventually comes. The work matures. The work you took, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
The images you took 15 years ago are not even close to what you're shooting now.
No. It's a learning. It's in all aspects of life. It's a learning process.
Oh, absolutely.
And how you embrace it, and how you learn from your mistakes. And boy, I've made some mistakes.
You've got to make mistakes. You've got to. That's the beauty of failure. I don't
Yeah.
believe in failure.
Yeah.
I think they're just opportunities.
Yeah.
You make a mistake, you screw up an image, you screw up a painting, and you get back home and you go, what was I thinking? But even doing these things, I make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
But I write them down. Well, I don't write, that's a lie. I remember them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember them, and I try not to do it again.
Yeah. When I talk to photo clubs and things like that, you know, one of the things I like to stress is if you're not having fun, you need to sell your gear.
Yep.
That it has to be fun,
It has to be fun.
and you have to realize that your mistakes make you better.
Yep. Exactly right. I remember one time I got into photography for a while. I love photography. I wish I was as good as you are. No, I don't, because I wouldn't be doing this. And I remember praying and asking God, I said, look, I spent the last 20 years wanting to be a painter. I put emotional energy into it, money into it, and I achieved a measure of success. And I would like to do photography. And I feel bad because I've prayed so long for all of this, and now I'm asking you to do this other thing. And it's like you and me talking right now. I heard God say, no, let's go do it. Let's have fun. He gave me permission to change. Now I've gone back to painting.
Yeah.
But that experience, those few years that I lived behind a camera, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I'm a much better painter than I am a photographer.
Yeah. I can remember trying to paint, and I can remember giving it up rather quickly.
Yeah. It's easy. It's not an easy career path
No.
because there's so many people who are so good at it.
Oh wow.
So good at it. So, you spent. Where's your favorite place to shoot?
Well, because of the closeness, I live in Norman, and here at the Wichita Mountains, it's an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
And it's been my go-to place for a long time. Probably my second favorite would be Big Bend National Park. I love that place. It's magical. But you have to love the desert. If you don't love the desert,
Yep.
it's not going to mean that
It's
much.
it's not an easy place to live.
No, it's not.
You can go camp for a few days, but
Yeah.
it would not be an easy place to live. I almost went with you. We had planned a trip, and for some reason I had to bail on that trip, and I don't remember why.
You had a conference. You were going with Lori to Dallas,
Oh, that's right.
if I remember right.
That's right. Yeah. So I didn't get to go. I really regret it. I would like to have. I still could do it. I mean, I still could do it. But
Well, let's go. I'm going at the end of the month.
are you really?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe not this year. Maybe I'll go next year.
There you go.
Yeah. So, how diverse is the photography work in a place like this?
Well, what I love about the Wichita Mountains are the seasons. And within those seasons, there are opportunities to photograph different species.
Mm-hmm.
Wintertime is a great time for catching river otters. Fall,
Believe it or not, there are river otters here.
yes.
I didn't believe it till he showed me
Yeah.
the images he shot.
And while he was setting up gear this morning, there was a river otter just went right by us here. So it was pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
But river otters in the wintertime, November, September, October, November, you have the elk rut going on, you have the deer rut going on. Spring, I love to photograph our state reptile, the collared lizard.
Oh yeah.
And May, they're prime then. They come out and they've shed, they've eaten, they've fattened up, they've got their mating colors. Just very vivid. If you've never seen a collared lizard before and then you see it, a lot of people that come to shows and come in my booth, they look at that and think it's a tropical species.
Yeah.
Because it's so colorful.
We'll have to show them an image of one of those if you've got one. We can.
Oh yeah.
So you, what do you shoot? Do you shoot here in the summer? Because it's pretty
Summer,
hot.
I like coming in the summer around July after the fawns have been born, and getting photos of twins, I've got some really cool shots of young fawns a day or two old with their mother.
Wow.
And actually nursing too. I've got some photos of fawns nursing, which is pretty cool.
One year I was down here, gosh, must have been 12, 15 years ago. And I got up real early in the morning and I was driving towards Sunset Park.
Sunset Peak.
Sunset Peak.
Yep.
And I just happened to see off to the left as I was driving, there was a standoff between a coyote, a deer, and a fawn. That was pretty amazing because she would not let that coyote get close to that fawn.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was going to eat it, but
Yeah. Those can be pretty aggressive.
they can be. Those hooves will cut you up. So, what's your favorite thing to shoot? Is it out here?
Wow. I think when I can find river otters, that's my favorite because they're so hard to find and find them in the same spot over and over and over. That's why wintertime, they get into a lake in the wintertime and they feed exclusively in that lake. This time of year, they're starting to move around. They're getting creeks. The females will have their young, and they'll take them into the creeks and teach them how to catch crawdads and things of that nature. That's how young otters learn.
Where else have you shot? We went to New Mexico together once.
Yes, we went to New Mexico. I need to go back. I've been a few times. I love the high desert in New Mexico.
What was the canyon we went to? Or it was
It was the Rio Grande del Norte.
Oh yes. We shot bighorn.
Yeah.
That was quite a treat.
We never saw a full curl ram, but
Right.
we saw some
We
young
saw
ones.
some young ones. Yeah. What else did we shoot there? I remember shooting a pinon jay.
Yes. The pine nuts were dropping.
Yes.
And
That was
they
in
were feeding them.
September, wasn't it?
Yeah.
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 Because I remember it got down to, I think one night it got down to 29
Yeah.
in September, and here it was still in
Yeah.
the hundreds probably
yeah,
in September.
Yeah. Well, I think we were at like 8,000 feet there, something
Yeah.
like that, 8,000.
Gosh, that was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Great memories. Where else have you shot?
I've been to Arkansas a few times. I've been to Kansas a few times. Pretty well regional. Mainly my passion is Oklahoma. I mean, the most fun part of doing shows is when people come into my booth and see my work. They think I travel all over the country.
Yeah.
And when I say all but 3 or 4 of the photos on the walls are from Oklahoma, they're always shocked.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the answer to the question of how diverse the wildlife is in this area.
Yeah.
I mean, the groundhogs, buffalo, coyotes. I've shot coyotes out here, not with a camera, and burrowing owls.
Yeah.
This is one of the few places where we have burrowing owls. I think maybe in the Panhandle.
They have them in the Panhandle. They actually have them around Chickasha. They're in different spots in Oklahoma. Yeah.
If you don't know what a burrowing owl, they typically nest in abandoned prairie dog burrows.
Yeah, they're very small.
Yeah, very small owl. And, they're really fun to watch.
Yeah.
You've volunteered out here or you've worked out here?
I have been a volunteer I volunteer here.
Oh, there it says right there, volunteer.
Yeah. So I work with the biologists on a few different projects over the past few years.
Oh,
So that's
Cowbirds.
been fun. Cowbirds, yeah.
tell us about cowbirds.
Black Cat Vireo up until about 3 years ago, was an endangered species. In the early 70s, there were only like 50 mating pair here in the refuge, and this was one of the few places they are found. The range used to go up into Kansas, and now they're only found in a few spots, and so they were endangered. In the early 70s, there was a project started to track brown-headed cowbirds because they don't raise their young. They travel with herds, and the female will lay her eggs in the nests of other songbirds, and they hatch faster, they grow faster, and it basically it's a death sentence to the young that are
The chicks,
in the nest.
Yeah.
And so the parents spend all their time feeding a brown-headed cowbird.
Because they don't know the difference,
Yeah, so it's their nature.
They're called a social parasite.
Yeah.
And they will, I've seen them nest in cardinal nests. And cardinals will have maybe 2 or 3 egg-laying seasons, and one of those is raising cowbirds.
Yeah. So I've been involved with that since 2010.
You still doing it?
Yeah, still doing it. Didn't do it during 2018 because of COVID. But we average removing, or I like to say recycle. we recycle about 1,000 to 1,200 cowbirds every year.
Does that impact their population?
Gosh, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I
'cause
mean, they're even worse now.
But the black-cap vireo has made a comeback.
I think the numbers that I heard recently, I hope I'm quoting it correctly, was around 5,000 mating pairs here.
That's pretty impressive.
In the 70s, there were only like 50 mating pairs.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
What other social parasites do we have here?
Oh.
Gosh, I was just can't remember. There's one other one that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I won't spend a lot of time not talking about stuff.
Yeah.
What's your favorite bird to photograph?
Oh, wow. Well, I probably have more photos of roadrunners than anything.
Oh, my favorite. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Roadrunners.
Yeah.
I also like painted buntings.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've not seen a painted. I'll post a picture of a painted bunting. They are just incredible.
I'm not gifted when it comes to birds. I have a couple of friends, they're world class at birds, but they wear ghillie suits, and they're just very good at it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of inhibited me in growing in that area when I'm far more comfortable in shooting herbivores and mammals.
You're good at it. Yep. I became involved in bird watching probably in the mid-90s and just fell in love with it. Became an amateur ornithologist, and I was a bird, when I started my career as an artist, I was a bird illustrator and just loved it. I just loved it. I still do it some.
I don't know if you remember, but at Midsummer Night's Fair, I actually bought a photo from you of a turkey that was pen and ink.
Ah, I don't remember that, but I remember doing the turkey, yeah.
I still have that on my wall.
Wow. Was it a print or an original?
It's an original. I think it was an original.
Yeah. Wow. It's fun. It's fun to, one of the most gratifying things about the arts, whether it's photography or illustration or painting, is having people get excited about seeing your work. And I think that's was my job, was to do something that when somebody came into my art space, they became emotionally involved in the piece.